Our research into the energy sector initially began with researching previous studies from organizations such as Mercy Corps and numerous governmental reports to get a bearing on how the sector had progressed over the last decade. We then carried out surveys amongst the general public to cross-reference these findings and get a bearing of accuracy. The combination revealed that access to electricity was primarily concentrated within the heavily gentrified and disproportionately developed area of Dili, which, while being expansive, still has great socio-economic divides, which accurately present themselves in the population's energy usage, with lower socio-economic populations spending between $1 to $5 a week on their energy, and tending to ration their usage only upon the necessities of cooking rice, charging phones, and providing lighting within their houses. While higher socio-economic populations can be spending as much as $12.50 a week on their energy tickets. We also found that an endemic problem, which both the public and authorities are aware of, is that a large portion of the population are not paying for their electricity, and are instead connecting to neighboring building supplies as their main form of power. The primary uses of energy across the wider population include air conditioning units, refrigeration units, cooking, specifically on boiling water for rice, lighting, and charging devices such as phones. The majority, if not all of the country's power, is provided by the centralized EDTL, which currently has a monopoly on the market as the only grid-connected energy provider. According to the EDTL and the UNTL, the country's infrastructure currently hosts a total of 250 megawatt generation potential, with the current country's demand never exceeding more than 65% of this figure. Saying that, however, the lack of consistent supply and fluctuating voltage means that the country is prone to regular brownouts and surges, which can leave electrical equipment damaged and people without power for varying stretches of time. Additionally, it is estimated that due to mountainous landscapes and difficult terrain, there will be 40,000 families who will never be connected to the grid and are instead entirely reliant upon generators or microgrids to service their areas, much of which is currently non-existent. This saw our assessment conduct research into what kind of renewable energy generation sources could be viable within Timor. What we found was
there are only 7 geographical areas in Timor-Leste that experience enough wind velocity to effectively power a wind generator. These spots have already been identified by the government for large-scale wind farms in line with a 50% renewable energy by 2025 target. Small-scale wind has been developed, but is massively expensive, costing $33,000 for a 5 kilowatt generator. Even then, it would only be possible to use these generators in the spots already reserved for large-scale wind generation.
We found there has been a proposal for a large-scale hydroelectric scheme in the eastern tip of Timor-Leste, at the Irilalaro Lake. There was a potential for a 27 megawatt system to be implemented there, and the lake would act as natural storage for the plant. Unfortunately, there has been no further progress on this, and there isn't much more opportunity for hydropower. This includes tidal energy solutions, as the oceanic movements are below the daily minimum of 7 metres.
And finally, we found that the renewable source with the most potential for commercial scale rollout was solar. This was due to the high level of average solar intensity throughout the year, the relatively low cost, scalability, off-grid potential, and the versatility of installation. Solar systems with battery storage should be viable for 12 months of the year and can be scaled to supply one household or used as a farm to supply the grid, providing the best output to cost ratio of the renewable options. There are also supply lines already developed that we could tap into for importation and an already existing positive image of solar.
From these findings, we believe that pursuing solar commodities would be the most viable option for establishing a sustainable business here in Timor. Over the month, we have developed a broad range of contacts from high-ranking industrial figures, big businesses with energy bills exceeding $60,000 a month, and military personnel who are looking to establish more consistent power supplies for their facilities. Furthermore, we have established contact with numerous universities and the CNEFP who have expressed interest in expanding their curriculum to provide a workforce here in Dili for the impending solar industry. Our recommendation for a business model would be to act as an intermediary to these stakeholders and establish distribution channels through Project Everest, obtaining a service fee and possible rights to feed-in tariffs should they exist in future. Once a business is established here in Dili, the intention is to expand into small-scale systems for disconnected communities and potentially work with the government and partners to implement large-scale grid supply.
We hope our handover report is clear for your reading. If you have any questions, feel free to get in contact with any one of our team members. We'd love to answer your questions. Look forward to the month. It'll be far quicker than you think. Hustle hard, venture on, and we look forward to seeing the brilliant work you do.